friends, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today we are back with another installment of my favorite color series. Today is all about my favorite periwinkles. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in my favorite blues video that I had a lot of shades that I didn't include because I considered them to be like periwinkles. And once I got to actually planning out this video and going through my collection, I thought that I had a lot more than I do. This is definitely one of the smaller favorite color series videos that I have, but I still absolutely love all of the ones that I have in my collection. So let me just show you my favorites. The first polish that I have is Ave Jeannie, and this is described as a pale periwinkle blue cream. So just for reference, here it is next to Color Department's Forget Me Not, which I included as part of my favorite blues video. That one has a bit more of a softer, almost powdery sky blue kind of color. It maybe leans a little bit like a cornflower, but yeah, Jeannie and the others in this video are basically what I consider true periwinkle shades. So back to Jeannie, I obviously love this one for the color, but I also especially love it for the formula. Even though it is such a light shade, it just has such a smooth, delicious formula. I feel like I always gush about Ave creams because they are just amazing. I especially love the brushes as well. It just makes the application so smooth and easy. Because this one is so light though, depending on your application, if you prefer doing thinner coats, you might need a third, but I usually can get away with just two. And I really love how soft and airy this one is. It is just so pretty, especially for spring. Next, I have ILNP's Up Above, and this one is described as a pastel sky blue jelly with color shifting iridescent flakes and a touch of hollow sparkle. So I can definitely see the case for being a pastel sky blue. Again, this is one that I would consider very much in like the cornflower territory. Once you see how beautifully this base color builds up on 2 or 3 coats, you can really see that it does have this like soft kind of powdery feel to the color, and I just especially love it. It is so soft, so whimsical. This one especially with those glowing iridescent flakies. You guys know I love this formula, love this polish, just such a classic shade for spring. So even though I really like how it looks in 2 coats, it also looks absolutely gorgeous in 3 coats. Now, I couldn't do a favorite periwinkle video without including Essie's Bikini So Teeny. This is definitely one of the most iconic Essie shades in my opinion. It is just such a staple, especially in my collection. I would say this is one of the first Essie polishes that I grabbed. Not this bottle specifically, because it obviously has the wide brush and a really creamy, smooth, opaque formula. So I really love the Essie glow up that we got over the years. But yeah, this shade is just like such a must-have. I'm so curious to know how many of you guys have this polish, or I guess I'd be more curious to know if you don't have this polish. So even though this has a silver shimmer that's in the bottle, you just don't see it on the nails, so it pretty much reads as a true cream. Next up, I have Cirque Colors Morningtide, and this is a sheer French powdery blue jelly polish, or maybe I guess I would consider this more of like a milky sort of sheer. As I've talked about in several of my Cirque videos before, Cirque kind of has these 2 lines of jellies where some of the polishes are very much that squishy, juicy, translucent look, but then others like this one have a little bit more of a milky and more buildable color to it. Obviously, it's still really sheer on the first coat, but you still see that beautiful wash of light periwinkle color. It builds up pretty nicely for the most part on 2 coats, but obviously it's a little bit sheer and maybe a little streaky in some spots. Depending on your application, I think you could get away with 2 coats, but you can also build it up in a third to really intensify the color and cover up more of your nail line, and I love how squishy this is. Next, I have Ave Cornflower, and this one is described as a soft and dreamy periwinkle, which might be kind of confusing. Is it cornflower? Is it periwinkle? Either way, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. This one has another absolutely flawless formula. Not quite a 1-coater, but just such amazing coverage on the first coat. It is just so satisfying painting with Ave shades, and here it is built up in 2 coats. It is just so beautiful. I'm pretty sure this is Ave's top selling nail polish of all time, and I totally understand why. The next shade I have is Shleee Polish's Flurry, which I just recently shared in a shorts video, but this is a really soft, crelly leaning periwinkle base color with this super stunning aqua and silver shimmer particle. It just really has this icy, vibrant, fresh quality to it that I just love so much. The first coat might not be super impressive because again, that crelly light base color isn't super evenly applied. The formula isn't difficult to work with, but I think if these had like paddle brushes, it would make the application so much smoother. I personally think it looks pretty decent on 2 coats, but I can see how depending on your application, it might still be a little streaky or too thin. So I decided to build it up in 3 coats here, and it really does help so much with covering up your nail line, building up the color a bit more. I just think it is so beautiful. I am really happy with this one, and I unfortunately don't think it's available right now, but it might come back at some point. I don't really know how Shleee works with these restocks. But I did want to do a quick little side-by-side with Mooncat's Sabertooth because I don't think I shared that one in my favorite blues video because I thought it would fit more with these polishes. But as you can see, that one is definitely more of a true blue and not really a periwinkle cornflower shade. So let's pretend that it was in my favorite blues video. So moving on to some slightly darker shades, the next one that I have is Ave's Lilac, and this was one of my absolute top favorite Ave polishes. You probably couldn't tell from the bottle, but it's like a little bit more than halfway full. I am just so obsessed with this shade. It's described as a true pastel lilac, perfectly balanced between purple and blue. I definitely would consider that very much a true periwinkle shade, and this is honestly the color I think of when I think of periwinkle. The lighter shades sort of again are in that cornflower territory, but this has a little bit more purple that I think makes it periwinkle. Either way, it's a bright and beautiful color with a perfect formula. Next, I have Essie's Don't Burst My Bubble from last year's spring collection, and this is described as a periwinkle purple with blue undertones, and this is another immediate favorite. I don't remember if this was a 1-coater for me last year, but it's a 1-coater for me now, and I love that. This color is so good, and I just can't get over how lush and creamy the formula is. So these last few shades I feel like are borderline periwinkle. They just are a little darker and maybe even more purple than I normally would consider periwinkles, but they still can pass. So this first one is Cirque Colors Crying Contest, and it's described as a periwinkle blue polish with a beautiful golden shimmer and a delicate hollow sparkle. If you guys watched my favorite shimmers video, you know that I love this formula from Cirque. So getting a periwinkle version with this beautiful gold shimmer, which I also really love, was just a dream for me. It is so stunning and magical. I really like it on 2 coats, but I probably should have built it up in 3. Next, I have Cirque Colors Pixie Holo, and this is a periwinkle blue-violet shimmer graphic with a fine green to pink color shifting shimmer and a scattered hollow effect. This one came out somewhat recently, a couple months ago in the Far Far Away collection, and it was definitely one of my favorites from that set. Again, I might be kind of pushing it with the color because it definitely is like a dark periwinkle. It definitely is like a blurple shade, but it's like, where is the line between periwinkle and your typical blurple? Either way though, this one is absolutely stunning. I love that green flash, and I love how sparkly this one is too with all the hollow. It's such a shame that I can't pick it up under my desk lighting, but it is super sparkly. So here it is with some adjusted lighting so you can kind of see that pink flash. It's a little subtle. And last but certainly not least, I have Starrly's The Cat's Meow, which is this super beautiful, very dark periwinkle slash blurple kind of shade that has this absolutely stunning copper shimmer and these silver holographic flecks. I feel like the finish of this one reminds me a lot of Cirque's shimmer formula, which, as you know, I love so much, but this is a much more opaque and creamy version, which I really enjoy. It has such amazing coverage on the first coat, and it's basically perfectly opaque in 2 coats for me. And yeah, this one is absolutely stunning. Even though I maybe wouldn't normally consider this a periwinkle, it just was too good to not include in this video. I think the way I would justify it is by by calling it a perfectly moody winter periwinkle. There's something about the combination of the shimmer colors between the gold and copper against the purple base that reminds me of like a winter sunset. And here is the collage of my favorite periwinkles. I just absolutely love how this looks. It is so pretty to me. There's definitely a lot of similarity going on here, just very subtle gradations in color. I think the two closest that I have are Ave's Cornflower and Essie's Bikini So Teeny. Cornflower is just ever so slightly lighter, but as far as the other shades go, I can definitely tell a difference. Again, I know those bottom right three might be a little bit on the purple blurple territory, but either way, I still love them all. So that wraps up my favorite periwinkle nail polishes. As always, I would love to know what you think of my favorites, if you have any of these in your collection too, or which ones are your favorite shades. I'm also curious to know what you think of like the lighter shades, because I feel like, again, those might be into like that cornflower territory, and even with the darker shimmery ones where they're just kind of blurple. Like, at what point do you really consider it a periwinkle shade? I think based off of my collage, the majority of my periwinkles are really that same kind of like lighter, soft, powdery shade, and it's usually a cream. I still obviously enjoy the even lighter ones that are in like that jelly milky formula, or the slightly darker shimmery ones too, because I just think they're so beautiful, especially for winter. I really hope that you've been enjoying this favorite color series. I think this might be the last video for a while, because I pretty much have gone through the major colors already, through the rainbow. I did my favorite teals and aquas in the summertime, and then my favorite browns and neutrals in November, I think. As far as my collection goes, I'm not really sure if I have any other colors that I haven't shared yet. I was thinking maybe of doing my favorite rose golds, especially for next month. So let me know if you would want to see that, but either way, let me know any and all thoughts you have down below so we can chat about it. But again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!